Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Young here, and today I'm back in our Fortnite video. And in today's video, I'm gonna be going over the best controller settings to use here for Fortnite. And recently they added in editing sensitivity, so I'm gonna be covering all the settings in this video. And so I want to specifically be talking about that sensitivity because they did separate building sensitivity from editing sensitivity. There are two different things, so I do want to cover that in this video and fully go in depth and explain exactly why I have the sensitivities that I do. And before we get into the video, I have a V-Buck giveaway. I'm going to be giving away some V-Bucks at 130,000 subscribers. So if you guys want a chance to win some V-Bucks, all you have to do is to drop a like on this video. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, turn on my notifications, and as well leave a comment down below of your Xbox gamer tag, your PSN gamer tag, or Epic account. And like I said, as soon as I reach 130,000 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away some V-Bucks. So make sure you guys enter the giveaway. And as well, if you guys want to add me and support me as a creator in the item shop, all you have to do is go over to the item shop, go down to support a creator, type in my code is Young Humor, and you guys will have me added and supported as a creator. I really do appreciate everyone who does. And alright guys, let's get right to the video. Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be covering all the settings and sensitivities that I use here for Fortnite. And like I said, I want to specifically be talking about the editing sensitivity they added because it is a new sensitivity and it's pretty interesting. I do have a few changes from the last settings video that I made about my settings. So a lot of you guys were curious, so I wanted to show that in this video. And to be completely honest, I think settings really just comes down to a lot of personal preference, but I'm sure a lot of you guys really are curious what my settings are. So I'm going to show you guys the first set of my settings, my X and Y sensitivity and all that. So here we have on the right side of the screen, you guys can see my sensitivity that I use. Just ignore the mouse sensitivity. I just been playing a little bit of keyboard and mouse and creative just for fun, so I don't really mess with that too much. I don't even know what my DPI is. But anyway, so my controller X sensitivity is a 0.65, and then for my controller Y sensitivity, I also have a 0.65. I like it to be consistent on both. I used to run a little bit higher of an X sensitivity than a Y, but I feel like it just got kind of weird, so I just kept it the same because it felt like a lot more consistent, and that's what I would recommend as well. I just think it works out the best. And next we have controller targeting sensitivity. For my last video, I did have it way higher, and when I got my PC, I think the default's at like 0.6, and to be completely honest with you guys, I really didn't even like pay attention to it, and it felt normal to me. But honestly, after a little bit, I didn't really like it. It felt a little bit too high. I was missing too many shots. My accuracy was still good, but it wasn't as good as it really could be, so I decided to move it down a little bit, and now I'm at a 0.325. That's what I'm using right now. I think I like it the way it is. I don't think I'm really going to change anything else about that. I like it the way it is. And for my controller scope sensitivity, I barely even use snipers. For you guys who watch my videos, I barely ever use like heavy snipers, guns like that. I barely use anything like that. So targeting sensitivity or scope sensitivity is something that I don't really know what the best one to use is. So I have mine at a 0.65. You can run a 0.5. Just want to run whatever you feel is comfortable. I really don't use snipers a lot, like I said, so I don't really know what the best sensitivity to use for that. So next we're going to be talking about controller building sensitivity and controller edit mode sensitivity. So controller building sensitivity, that's just the sensitivity clearly when you're building, and then the editing sensitivity is when you edit. So before the update, I would have a 2 building sensitivity because the settings were connected, and the reason I was running a 2 building sensitivity is I was running it for my PC, and on my PC, as you guys know, the frame rate is a lot higher, so it's a lot more control, and it definitely is a lot easier to use than on console. I would never run a 2.0 on console, but for PC it's something I would definitely run just because it was a lot faster at building. I could build a 1x1 a lot quicker when I was in my arena modes, and as well editing was so much quicker because it was a lot faster. I can go in between my builds a lot faster. So edit mode sensitivity and building sensitivity was really high for me, and that's the way I liked it. But since they added 2 different sensitivities, one thing that I felt was happening is when I had a really high building sensitivity is I felt like it could have been just for me, but I felt like my 90s were a little bit off. I wasn't doing them as consistently, and my double ramp floor and walls, I feel like I was messing them up a ton too because I felt like it was just a little bit too fast. So that's the reason why I decided to move my building sensitivity down to a 1.8, because like I said, I felt like my 90s were not as consistent. So I still had consistent 90s and all, but I really wasn't as good as I felt like it should have been. I kept messing them up from time to time. So I ended up lowering it, and I really do feel like that helped. So that's the reason for me, the reason I moved my building sensitivity a little bit lower. And then editing sensitivity, I think you should just always keep that on a 2. You always want to try to edit as quickly as possible. So having that on max is something that I would for sure recommend you guys use and try out. And what I said at the beginning, a lot of the sensitivity and settings you guys are using is a lot of personal preference. I just want to show you guys my settings and give you guys kind of my input and really explain exactly why I changed the settings that I did, because a lot of you guys might be wondering if you guys want to change your settings at all. So that's really the reason why I wanted to do this video again. Alright, so here I just want to show you guys the rest of my settings just in case you were curious and exactly what they are. And for those of you guys who watched my other previous settings video, I haven't changed a thing about my combat, building, editing, and dead zones. Everything is still the same. But for those of you guys who haven't watched that my previous video on settings, I'm just going to run through it real quick and explain exactly why I have the things that I do. So here are my combat control settings. As you guys can see, everything seems pretty normal. I didn't change too much. The only thing that I think that it might be a little bit different is I have auto run on, I have the L stick down, the L3 button, I have that unbinded, and as well as you guys notice, I have my right on the D-pad binded to the edit. And just to let you guys know, I do have down on the D-pad as unbinded, and normally I would have my emote wheel right there, but for whatever reason when I switched to PC, because I have my edit and confirm both on the right and left paddles like binded, and so whenever I would try to edit and confirm really quickly, for some reason, most of the time if I pressed it quickly enough, my emote wheel would come out, and it just got super annoying because I would try to go for an edit and then my emote wheel kept popping up. But now since that really doesn't work, all I have to do is just use my keyboard to pull my emotes. So that's why my down on the D-pad is going to be unbinded, just because for whatever reason it gets really bugged out when I try to edit and confirm. And for those of you guys who don't already know, I do use an Elite controller, so that's why I have the right on the D-pad and the left on the D-pad binded to my edit and confirm, because otherwise that'd be just really weird to use. It would be really bad. I know a lot of people who play claw, they use L3, they use the left stick down to go for edits and different things like that, so that just might be something you guys should try as well if you guys play claw. I don't really know what the best thing to use for those of you guys who play like normally, you know, without any claw, elite, or scuff. I haven't really played with that since season 2, so I really wouldn't know what the best thing to use for that is. You really just have to figure out you know, what would work best and what feels the most comfortable. And here we have my build controls, and for my building controls, the two things I think might be a little bit different is my left on the D-pad is to change materials and traps, and as well at my left stick down, my L3 button is what I use to change between my traps, place them, and just like switch between everything like that. And I just think that's the best settings for me. It just works the best, it's the most comfortable. It's super easy to pull up my traps, switch in between them, and do everything like that. So that's why I have these settings and the build controls right there that I do. And next we have my edit controls, and for my edit controls, I think everything's just about the same except for my confirm button. My confirm button is left on the D-pad. I have my right on the D-pad unbinded because it really is weird if you have edit on that as well, because it'll just keep coming out of the edit. It's just a lot easier to have just one button on the edit controls as a confirm button, and that's what I use for left on the D-pad. I have that for those guys who want to know what my setup is on my Elite controller. My bottom left paddle is used to jump, my bottom right is used to build, my upper right is used to edit, and then my upper left is used to confirm things. So that's my layout when I use the Elite controller. I don't have any of those weird settings where you can kind of change exactly how sensitive the sticks are, and there's a lot of different settings that you can kind of mess with it, but like I just have the default ones. I haven't really messed with it too much. I tried it out once, but it felt kind of weird. Maybe it is a little bit better, I don't really know, but for me, I just use the default, and then I use those 4 paddles on my Elite controller. And for the last setting that I have in this video, I'm going to be talking about dead zones. And currently my dead zones are at a 0.2 on both, and I might lower it a little bit. I haven't touched them in such a long time, but for dead zones, I think the best thing you can do is have them as low as possible without having any stick drift. And what I mean by that, just basically any sort of movement where you're not even pressing the sticks, because a lot of times if you have like a little bit of an older controller, you might drop it a few times and eventually you're going to have a little bit of a stick drift. And so the best way to counter that is to raise your dead zones. And if you have a newer controller, a lot of times it's going to be very, very good, meaning that it's not going to have too much stick drift at all. So you can have pretty low dead zones. And so right now I have a 0.2 on both. I think I could go down to like a 0.16, maybe even a 0.15. I don't think I can go any lower than that on my Elite controller without having a bunch of kind of drifts in that. So that's what I would probably move to if I had the choice. And so those are my settings in this video. I think I covered pretty much everything that I wanted to cover. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed, drop a like on this video. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on my notifications so you're notified for every single new video. And alright guys, I'll see you next video.